Hi everyone, welcome to DOdaily Thursday Thoughts. Des here, checking in to let you know how I'm getting on, and of course, checking in with the live episode to answer the questions that you posed me this week. Really appreciate those that have asked me something. That's what it's all about on a Thursday, a chance to interact, get involved. Of course, I tend to say what I think throughout the week, and all I'm doing here is encouraging people to make it a two-way thing, create a bit of content, and of course, answer some questions, ask for my opinion, and just get a feel for where I'm at with certain things. Do daily every day is a chance for me to try and be honest and relatable about the way I feel about things. Quite an opinionated, quite a open, transparent person, I like to think. Um, in many ways, that sometimes backfires on me, but that's okay. This is what it's all about. I'm just putting myself out my comfort zone that little bit further to try and get a little bit better at it and at what I'm doing, and that's all I ever try to be is a person who others can relate to, who I can help through certain situations when they find it tough. My everyday life is not straightforward. And again, it's been a bit of a week of that. I'll come to all of that shortly. But for now, what I will say, if you want to get behind the channel, want to support what I'm doing, want to support me in encouraging others to communicate, to get in touch, to get involved, please give this episode a thumbs up. I'd really, really appreciate that. And of course, subscribe. Getting up towards 750 now. It's been a bit slow recently on that front. Of course, I've been a little inconsistent. I had a week off last week as well. We've been doing this for 3 years. And some might say I'd not improved, but definitely when I look back at one and two of the early ones, I have. So for as long as it takes, I'll keep trying to improve and get that little bit better. Even if it takes me another 3 years to get up to that 1,000 marker, I'm here to stay. Really committed to what I do here. And whilst I know it's got its flaws, I know some people might think, what the hell is he talking about now? What's he trying to achieve? It's what I need to do to keep me sane. And like I say, sometimes testing situations make us wonder where we're at. This gives me the chance to offload a little, even though it is one way from this point of view and for most of the week, and then start putting the pieces back together and coming to terms with things and dealing with them as and when it's necessary to keep me in a good place. Lots of things over the last week or two that have been good. Of course, the London Marathon, I did that. It's coming up to 2 weeks since I've done that now, and I won't let you forget it that quickly. So really sort of still flowing off that a little bit, but what it's done, it's created a lot of determination. Whilst I'm injured and struggling in that sense, struggling to get back out for a run, going to test the ankle at the weekend. Hopefully that helps sort of address the running itself, but addresses one or two of these sort of niggly feelings I've got as well, because they are just starting to mount up a little bit, if I'm completely honest. The frustration of not being able to run, it's just sort of irking away at me now, and it's not a place I like to be. I've said it 1,000,001 times on DOdaily. When I need to feel good about myself and really start to pick things up, or make sure I don't get to a position where I'm feeling low and lacking confidence, run is always the first thing I do. So hoping to pick that up again. My injury is a bit up and down, so I'm not quite sure how it's going to hold out, but I'll take it easy, be careful. But I found loads of determination to do things properly all of a sudden. And I'm not saying I'm going to get it right. I'm not saying I'm going to do it perfectly well, but through not being able to run, through things that have happened, things that other people have said, and the way things are just in general life, work, and all sorts of situations. I just feel like I need to stay on top of things. So pleased to be on tonight. Set myself lots of targets with DOdaily as well, to make sure I get on and I'm consistent with it. And again, just sort of making sure I take those first steps to put myself right. And that's really important, isn't it, when we're not feeling fantastic? It's just putting those first steps in place. So amongst the lack of running, I guess, I've been doing the things that I know work, and for me, that's leading at the running group. Doing my coaching group here in Nottingham, talking on DOdaily. Getting back to it after that week of rest and really sort of trying to come to terms with what happened with the marathon in a good sense and what's happening in the bad sense. But this week, been tired. Still feeling a little bit. It's what tends to happen after a marathon. Your body closes down just a little bit, and as much for all the training I did and for all the training I didn't do, I still put a bit of effort into that, and it just bites back a little bit. But 26.2 is going to, isn't it? It's tough on the body to take. So that's kind of where I'm at. The bit sort of in a good place, in a real confident, sort of strong-minded place, but things to sort out, and those things, won't be easy, and one or two difficult conversations, but such is life. If I didn't accept that this was going to happen these days, I'd just get back to the point where life sometimes got on top of me, and I try not for that to happen, even if it means, like I say, having difficult conversations and experiencing different situations. I feel it's the only way I can get through it, and it's as simple as that. I've had to make this journey, take these steps before. For me, it's proven. Now I get the chance to sort of try and support and encourage other people. And of course, some people do take something from it. So, like I say, I really, really appreciate all the support. Anybody who can give a thumbs up to this episode, I really appreciate that. If you want to make a comment about the things I'm saying, any of the questions, anything I've said already, anything that's coming up, please use any of that social media scrolling across. Do give me a follow. I am a little bit of an open book and do think I say things as they are sometimes. And again, I'll reiterate, sometimes a bit too much. So I open myself up, leave myself wide open sometimes, but that's life. What I will say, really, one of the real good points this week, and something I've taken a lot from last night. I went to an evening with a local radio commentator, but fascinated by broadcasting. And of course, getting into things like this and my football content, it means I am even more. But Kay had got me a little early birthday present. That's coming up at the weekend. I'll come back to that later. But an early birthday present to go and see a local Forest commentator who's been doing it for years and years, like an evening with. Got the chance to talk to him and pick his brains. As I put on my own social media, did I? Probably wouldn't leave him alone at one point, but just fascinated by the whole thing and trying to be better at what I'm doing and talking on camera, asking for a few tips. And I thought it was really interesting that he said the biggest tip I can give you is just to ignore the hate, and I think in many ways in life that's it's not easy, putting yourself out there, but I do put myself out there, and there's always going to be people, especially when it comes to football, which is so opinionated. It's really, really tough sometimes to say what you think and try and articulate it, and people criticise. And when I do this, I've got friends who don't even understand it. I've probably lost friends through it, and it's quite sad in a way, isn't it? But it's just the way it is. And we're, like Colin Fraser, the guy I went to see, it's really difficult to have to take it. But at the end of the day, it's what I have to do, and that's. Whilst I try and sort of live by that mantra to some degree anyway, it's the reason I keep coming back. If I didn't deal with the hate, I wouldn't keep coming on and doing what I do. But we have to do that every day as well, don't we, in some shape or form? And I think just hearing it from somebody I've got huge respect for, who's forged a fantastic career in journalism and broadcasting, I think that's absolutely amazing. So that was a real highlight, a real positive thing. Of course, I like to sort of thrive off the positives and work off those. And that's something I've had to sort of take into the rest of the things I'm doing. Again, it's not always easy. A couple of comments before I go any further. Got Eve here saying, "Hi Des, hope you're well. I've lost some weight, which I'm really happy about. Find it hard to exercise, but feel good about myself after exercising." That's fantastic, Eve. Well done on losing the weight. Do you know, I'm exactly the same. I always talk about the need to lose weight to be able to do some of the things I want to do with running that little bit better. Neither of them are easy. I've never found exercise easy, even when I was super fit. But it's that feel good, isn't it? And that's what you have to remember. That's the bit you have to cling on to. That's the addictive bit when you feel good about yourself and you've lost that weight and the reasons you do it. That's why we put ourselves through the pain. I've been speaking a lot already about the things I do here. I know I'm not perfect here. I know I say the wrong things sometimes to the right or wrong people, but I have to go with it, don't it? Because it's what I believe in. And when we're on a health kick or an exercise drive, that's the way we have to approach it. Deal with the bad ones, but the highs are much higher than the lows. So keep at it, Eve. Dawn Tour says he's Colin Frey coming on the show. I was that intrigued in the conversation. I didn't even ask him, but that'd be amazing, wouldn't it? I'd kicking myself now, door. Could have even got him on your show as a massive Forest fan, but didn't ask. And Dawn says, great advice, ignore all the haters. Of course, it's something I talk about a lot, that is, and it's I've even done a show about it in the past called Haters Will Hate. I'll probably link that in somewhere on this video. But it is really important because, again, it's about keeping your eyes on the prize, and that's where I feel my determination's kicked in this week, and I'm really realising what is important. Sometimes you can't control what others do, what others say, or the way they react around you. That's completely up to them. I'm the first one to admit I'm not perfect, but we just have to keep finding ways to keep moving forward, to keep doing what you do, and keep pushing on. So that's kind of where I'm at with everything. Again, it's important at this point because I'm at a point where I'm looking to iron out a few difficult situations and for myself personally and to move forward, we have to do the uncomfortable stuff. And again, I'm using lots of examples tonight, whether it be the YouTube stuff or the weight and the running. It's all about taking those positive steps forward. And I think the message I always try and drive through this is one, in some shape or form, we have to progress, even if it's just that little bit. These super motivational people, the big names, Tony Robbins and all those kind of people will say, try and improve 1% a day and all those kind of things. But, it's just feeling that little bit better about yourself, about certain situations, isn't it? And gaining that experience and knowledge of how to deal with it. And hopefully I can provide just a little bit of insight into that. So if you've got anything to add, like I say, do drop a comment. Please do drop a like. I'm going to get into the questions. A couple of straightforward, nice ones to go at today. Looking forward to sort of blasting through them and letting you know my thoughts. Once again, do comment if you've got anything to say. So the first question, well done on the marathon. What's next on the race plan? And this has come from Tim. It's really interesting you say that, Tim. So whilst I can't run, I tend to be a bit more sort of eager to do more races and get more in, and start thinking about what's next. I've got a lot of things planned for the autumn, and the training I was doing for the marathon, in the back of my mind, it was almost half marathon training for the autumn. I know you shouldn't really sort of cut corners, but just where I was at and the fact it had already been deferred once, and then I picked up that late injury. I couldn't believe my luck in that sense. Bad luck. But I was almost geared to what I'm doing in the autumn. I always do the Robin Hood half marathon here in Nottingham. I always do, I try to always do the Great North Run. So in September, they're the big ones. What I would like to do, and I've already been talking about it, just last Sunday at the running group, again, we probably had a few drinks with a bank holiday and started talking all things events. I'd like to do an end of year marathon. There's a couple I've kind of got earmarked. I don't know which one. When I can get back to it, if I can get back to it soon, perhaps Chester or Yorkshire, which is in York, I believe, or even Amsterdam. That's the one I'm really tempted by. That's dangling a carrot in front of me. So I really like to do that. It's a big city marathon. It'll be a great weekend. Some of the other guys around the running club are thinking about doing it. So they're the things I'm kind of looking forward to over the next few months, wanting to do a few 10Ks. It's not a race or an event I do that often in reality, but I'm going to wind it back a bit. Whilst I'm going to try and keep some of my long runs up when I get back into it, if it's soon. I'm going to work to sort of 10Ks, work through the distances again, and just like you should really, But a 10K is not something I do that often, so try and get a few of those in. I think I've probably only done 3 or 4 in the whole time I've been running in terms of events. Done the Great Manchester 10K, which is a brilliant event at the end of May. That was perhaps a bit too soon, but a couple of those. There's another one called Round Sheffield, which I fancy doing again. It's an interesting run where you run for so far, stop, check out, walk, check in, and about 15 miles, but 15 tough miles. So if there is a marathon on the horizon, that's definitely something that you would be great training for that. So, and a bit of fun at the same time as well. So really sort of penciled all those in at the end of the year. I'm away at Benidorm doing the Benidorm half marathon. That's more of a jolly as well. But if I can do it well, I'd be really, really pleased if I could get somewhere around 2 hours by then again. At one point, I'd done all my half marathons under 2 hours. But these days I don't. The last one I did in training the one I did in the London Marathon was 2 hours 21, which is my quickest for a very long time. So really starting to make strides again, even with that injury. I've not put the pressure on it since. But yeah, that's kind of the plan to go with the 10Ks. In the summer months, it's hard with some of those longer distances as well with the heat. You have to get up particularly early, go out particularly late, but it's all part of the challenge and finding that determination to do it. So the 10Ks, and then in the autumn, looking at those half marathons, and then potentially a marathon towards the end of the year. It sounds like a great plan, doesn't it? But as I well know, it's not exactly going to plan. Dawn there shouting up for Amsterdam. Eve says she did a 40-minute run on Tuesday without stopping, which was 4.43k, which is almost 3 miles. That's fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant, Eve. That's nothing to worry about there. Get that up to 5k. Don't worry about the time. Just get that 5k in, and then when you've done 5k, let me know what you've got, because that's really, really impressive for somebody who's not a regular runner. I'm really, really proud of you for that. So well done. It's fantastic. Dawn also says I fancy the Round Sheffield run, which again I mentioned there. So those events, those are the things I'm looking forward to. Hopefully that answers your question. Anybody else got any race ideas, especially 10Ks in the next couple of months? I'd love to hear about those. I do know of 1 or 2, but if you've got any ideas around that, or any late year marathons, or anything, what you're doing yourself, I'd love to receive some comments. It'd be absolutely fantastic. And of course, I'll remind you, between these questions, do give this episode a thumbs up if you're watching. Do subscribe if you're new to the channel. That'd be amazing. If you're watching after it's live, keep the comments coming. Any of that social media scrolling across, like I've said before, do give it a follow, whether it's myself, DOdaily as the channel, or Do Running, which is a running group I formed here in Nottingham. So I'd love all the support with that. That'd be amazing too. If you are a subscriber, get behind those. And like I said, let's get those 10 ticked off. Perhaps Mr. Dawes there somewhere, and he can help me get those 10 subscribers to take me over that 750 and get me 3/4 of the way to 1,000. I'll just say before I move on, lots of the subscribers came from Mr. Daw, and one of his silly days for me to wear a full kit about this time of year last year, and I got a massive surge, which I'm particularly grateful for, but I'm not open to any silly suggestions just at the moment, he says. Question 2, will you be watching the coronation? This has come from Sarah. No. But there is a reason for that. I probably would be watching it in all reality, because a little bit of a royalist. I wouldn't say I know everything about what's what and get it all completely, but a little bit really. Somebody who sits down and watches the Queen's speech, keeps a bit of an eye on it. Don't get involved in some of the tittle tattle, the Harry and Meghan stuff's all a bit boring now, isn't it? And and it's just a family dispute at the end of the day, isn't it? And we all have them. We all have disputes with all sorts of people. So not really that bothered about that side of it. Do like the big sort of showpiece events. Of course, we've had the Jubilee and Platty and all sorts of things in the last couple of years, like Trooping of the Colour and those kind of things on a Saturday afternoon. So I would probably have sat down and watched this, but I'm actually out for my birthday, secondary celebration or primary for me. I'll be celebrating with a few drinks with friends from the running group and people who want to be there. I just want to go out and have a bit of fun. Whilst I'm injured, I'm not I'm not trying to completely go off the boil with the eating and drinking, but it's my birthday, isn't it? And over the last couple of years, whilst of course I do celebrate them and they've been fantastic, I've had a couple of lockdown birthdays and things like that. So it's just a day to go out and enjoy yourselves, isn't it? And spend time with people who want to spend time with us. That's really, really important. So looking forward to Saturday in the sense I'll be out and about. I'll probably pick up on some of the celebrations. Of course, it's going to be all over the television, and if I'm dotting from pub to pub and big screens are on and all sorts of things like that, I'm sure I'm going to see a bit of it. Kay's made a comment here saying she loves a bit of pomp and ceremony. We all love these kind of things, don't we? And it's going to, at the end of the day, it'll be quintessentially British and the usual thing. So I'm sure we're all going to take some pride in it in some sense, even those who probably say they won't. But so yeah, I probably would, but on this occasion, I'll probably pick up on it on the news as well in the following days. What I will say, even though I am a bit of a royalist, why does it take so bloody long? Just get these things done. He's not going to be on the phone for 70 years like his mum, is he? So I don't know why it takes so. I do in a way. It takes a lot of preparation and organisation, but let's get these things done and let's move on with it and push on. So really, really looking forward to that being done and out of the way in many ways. But again, I'm kind of behind the royal family to some degree. James says, "Hello, Des. How are you, mate? Hope you're well." Really good, James. Thanks for tuning in. Really, really appreciate the support as ever. Don't forget to give us that thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Anybody can comment, just like James has there. So yeah, just finally on the coronation. I think I've kind of summed it up anyway before those comments, but it should be a good day. And I hope for everybody's sake and my sake, being out in Nottingham enjoying my birthday on Saturday, the sun's out. That's what I really, really hope for. So thanks for the question. Really appreciate that, Sarah. Anybody got any comments about that? Just like Kay, please drop it on. Really, really appreciate what you've got to say, whether you agree with it, don't agree with it. We're all of different opinions about different things, aren't we? And that's absolutely fine. Question 3, football one. I try to avoid football to some degree on this. I do mention it in dispatches, but of course this channel is not about football. It's about sort of my thoughts and feelings, and especially on a Thursday. But it's part of what I do, and it some of those people I mentioned, some of the subscribers, not quite sure who left this one, but some of the subscribers are football fans. So it's free for all. Sometimes I do serious Thursday thoughts where we deal with one subject and might speak to one person about it. Sometimes they're not so serious. Sometimes they're channeled on a running event or something like that. Anything you want to talk about, I'm quite happy to do it. So if somebody wants to ask me, will it be Arsenal or Man City? I've got two different opinions. And normally when it comes to football, most football fans either go with the heart or with the head. The head says Manchester City. Arsenal had that little period where they just imploded a little bit. And when I say implode, they drew 3 games. But when you've got Man City chasing you, it's them who are competing, they can reel off win after win, and they've got that beast up front by the name of Erling Haaland, who's got the scoring record now as well. So yeah, with the way the points have gone, Man City are gonna claim it now, aren't they? They've got the slightly easier running. They've got the stars. They've got the psychological edge. All of a sudden, Arsenal have been top of the league all season. I've been really, really impressed with them. got a great young side. Some players. I'm a massive fan of Saka, which a lot of people are. Massive fan of Martinelli, which a lot of people aren't. But I just see some of the Cristiano Ronaldo's in him. I think he's a top player, and I think he's going to get better and better. And he's got a little bit of everything, which when Ronaldo was his age, he was a bit raw as well. So some people might scoff at that, but what's his space? And if that ever comes to it, I can say I said it here. So I think Martinelli, a massive fan of his, but they've got some great players, Arsenal, and they've been up there and they've had some great games, and I've been following what they've been doing because I wouldn't say they're a second team. They've never been nowhere near that. But I've always had a little bit of a soft spot, a weird soft spot for Arsenal, at the big teams because of the football they play and the way they go about it. There's a lot not to like about them as well. But I thought they was going to do it this year, but they're going to come a bit short, aren't they? I'd love them to do it. But like I said, I think they're going to come a little bit short. A couple of comments here. Dawn says she'd love Arsenal to do it for Arteta. I think she's a bit of a fan of his for very fickle reasons. But there you go. And James says, I think it'll be Arsenal. I said it at the start of the season. It's a big call at this stage with the fact that with the game in hand that City have got and the point at the moment. But you never know. This is football, isn't it? Football surprises us sometimes, so it can really sort of intrigue us and sort of it really surprises us when we least expect it. And a couple of weeks ago, I thought Forest were dead and buried and relegated. And I probably thought that for most of the season, in all honesty. There was one point where they did well, but I thought it was going to, it was all a bit too early to think it was done and dusted. But probably in all reality felt that Forest was going to get relegated. And bizarrely, right now, I think they're going to stay up. So and there's no real reason for that. They've done nothing massively to suggest they will. Well, I just think that something's telling me now that they're going to stay up, which that's what football does. Again, it changes our mind. We have a different opinion. It shocks us when we least expect it. We knew who was going to win every single game, or if we knew either Arsenal or Man City was going to win the league, we'd be millionaires because we know what to bet on, won't we? But we don't, and that's the great thing about football and sport in the main. So thanks for that question, whoever it was. And that sort of draws me towards the end of the episode. Really, really appreciate those questions. Something nice, straightforward ones to answer. It's never easy because it always involves a bit of opinion and a bit of thought. But all I'm trying to be is just that place where people can ask anything. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of communication, just that little bit of listening. Just from the viewer's point of view. To take a bit of new information on board and process it and get the brain ticking. From my point of view, it's a chance to process the things I say and understand why I say them and why I do them and why I am the way I am. And like I say, wherever I can, if it does get a little bit more serious and things need to be discussed, just be that sort of place where people can relate to. And that's all it's about. I always say on a Thursday, even if it's not necessarily got a mental health focus on things. There's a reason I do this channel, and well, there's lots of reasons, but one of them is to support and encourage people to make good, positive decisions. And that's as much as I really want to say on it today, because I don't want to be preaching about it every week, but I am here if anybody needs to talk. There's still lots of people who get in touch, who want to talk to me, all the time, and lots of nice comments I receive. Really, really appreciative of that. It's not the reason I do it, but it does feel good when I get them. I'll make no bones about that. So if you've got anything you want to talk to me about, any questions to ask for next week, please email des@dorunning.org.uk. If you're not comfortable putting them in the comments on any of the social media, any of the videos throughout the week, email me if you want to chat, if you want to create some conversation. Somebody said to me a couple of weeks ago that they were going to start running again, and doing things like that because of the things I'd said and the way it had been a struggle. And that's amazing because, again, it's just drawing a positive out of a negative situation. So, like I say, do get in touch any way you can. I'll be back on tomorrow with Wake Up to Walk. Again, I've been a little bit guilty of not waking up to walk, But one of my targets this month is to get up at 6:30 or by 6:30, get out with a dog, walk. If I can do that, get an episode film, process some of the things I've gone through this week even more, look forward to those birthday celebrations, the coronation, and the bank holiday weekend. I'll be feeling in tip-top position to do it. Once again, to everybody watching, really, really appreciate it. This has been my Thursday thoughts. Until tomorrow, just doing it.